About SAS, yes, I have heard, like, as I have told you about this before also, that my friend suggested me for this. Regarding the same, what I know about this is that it is all about the data collecting, data mining, and all these statistical analysis system. I didn't know much more about this.
Okay, that's not a problem. So basically, SAS is a BI tool, business intelligence tool, which we use, as you said, for data extraction, data mining, as well as we also use it for some decision analytics, where we drill down the data and use it for making some decisions. So in business
All right.
analytics, this is like a very popular tool which is used in most of the MNCs. All right, let's
Mm-hmm.
start with it. Basic SAS software looks like this, like which is what is visible as of now on the screen. Are you able to see
It's
my
not
screen?
visible. No, no, I'm not able to see any screen over here.
Okay, let's
Yes, now.
you are able to see it now. Okay.
Hmm.
Alright. So this is how a basic SAS software looks like. Okay. There are
All right.
three windows at the bottom. You can see this is editor, where you will be writing code for that. Like this is the editor window. This is log window.
All
And this
right.
is output. In editor, it is used basically for writing code. Okay. Log,
Okay.
you have written some code. Now how it worked, you will be able to see that in the log window. And in the output
All
window,
right.
if your code is supposed to give you some output, then it would come in the output window.
Output.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. So these are three windows. Now, after that, the most important thing, or like a very basic thing in SAS which you should know very well, is called libraries. Right? These libraries,
Okay.
nothing but a kind of references for some locations, okay, where we kind
Mm-hmm.
of create references for our data locations. Okay. So
All right.
if I talk about library, I can divide that into two parts or two categories. One is permanent and other one is temporary.
Temporary.
Okay, there are two types of library.
Mm.
Now let's first talk about temporary library. Here, whatever icon you are able to see uh, in the library, inside the library,
Mm-hmm.
work is the library which is known as temporary library. Okay,
All right.
so I can say the name of that library is work.
Work.
Why do we call it temporary? Because whatever data is lying inside this library, fine, would be there on a
Mm-hmm.
temporary basis. And the life of this data set would be the moment I close my session, whatever data is lying
Mm-hmm.
inside this library will be deleted. Okay.
All right. Okay.
This is also called default library. Why do we call it default? Default, what do you understand by default?
Default is like hmm, I don't know.
Okay. A default means, let's say, there are such places where I am supposed to define a library name.
All
Okay.
right.
But I don't define it. So in that case, SAS would consider work as the library, or it would automatically add this library to that place if I have not mentioned any library name. Fine. So
That means it is automatic. Like we can say it's default. मतलब ये default की तरह ही है. ये automatically अपने आप हो जाता है.
yes, that's correct.
All right.
Now, after that, as the problem with this library is my data is getting deleted as soon as I close my session. So
Session.
I may want to keep my data for future purpose, and for that I would create a permanent library. So for
All
that,
right.
I have to write a code. How do I do it? So I just go to editor, I write
editor.
a code called libname. Okay. Then libname is a
Alright.
SAS keyword. Let me tell you how do we do that first of all. So whenever I need to create a permanent library, I will write libname. After that, library ref.
Is it fixed or can we change this name?
No. So it's a SAS keyword basically. You cannot change it. It's
Alright.
syntax of
Alright.
language. Okay. Libref is the reference which you are going to create and the path. Right? So this is a kind of
Alright.
syntax we follow. So let's say I write a name ABC,
Okay.
and after that I give a path where I want to save the data set. So let me copy a path. Let's say I've taken this, I copied it, and I'm pasting it over. Now the thing is, the moment I create this library, this ABC is nothing but a kind of nickname or representative of this location. Whatever is lying
Alright.
inside ABC or whatever I would see inside ABC, eventually it would be on this location. Because
Displayed over there.
yeah, correct? Alright. So let's move ahead.
Alright.
Now, as I'm creating this library, there are certain rules which I
Mm-hmm.
have to keep in my mind, and that is called naming convention rule. There are three rules. This library name cannot be more than 8 characters.
Okay.
Okay, and it cannot start with a number,
Alright.
and it cannot contain any special character except underscore. Fine. So these are
Alright.
three things you have to keep in your mind while creating a
Uh, you said key cannot contain any special character except
underscore.
underscore. Alright.
Okay. So let's move ahead now. Now I created this library. Let me try to violate some naming convention rule and see what happens. So what I did, I just added let's say one, and then I did that. Okay. So if I try to run it now, I get an see the 1 2 ABC is not at all created over here, and I get an error message here that 1 2 is not a valid SAS name.
Okay.
All right. So I have
Okay.
some naming convention. Let's okay. So I've created a library. Now let's move ahead. After creating a library, I may want to create some data set. Before that, I would show you some sample data set. So let me go to this. Okay. So this is how a SAS dataset looks like. In Excel, we call these things as column. In SAS, these are called variables,
Variables.
and rows
Alright.
are called observations.
Alright.
And the entire thing is called a dataset. Fine.
Data.
Dataset.
Alright.
Okay. Now, uh, if I am creating a dataset, let's say how do we do that? To create a data, I have to write a keyword called data. Fine. And then what is the
Hmm.
name I want to give to my dataset? So let's say test. X equals to 1 and 1. So the syntax or the thing which I should follow while creating a SAS dataset is let's say let me clean my name. Let's say I've written data. Now the thing is, whenever I mention a name of a data, it should be in the form of library.ts. That means first name should be of any library, then there should be a dot, and after that there should be a data. So suppose
Okay.
I want to send this data test in my ABC library which I just created. I would write data abc dot test. Fine.
X.
This is
Okay.
the I should write. Now I told you one more rule about the default library. If
Hmm.
I am supposed to mention a library name somewhere, but I don't mention it, I just write data test. So instead of this library, which I should add over here, I didn't do that. SAS automatically at the backend added, and this test is treated as work.test. Okay.
That means once we close this, it automatically is deleted.
Yeah. So if you are writing only a data set name, it is like this data would go in the work library. Otherwise, if I write abc.test, now this data would go
Test.
in the abc library, and abc means
Okay.
this part. All right, let's write.
Okay.
So I'm creating it in abc first. Today is what day? Today is 10th of December. So let me write that and run. So first, let me go to abc. So I see there is a data set. Then I go to this location.
Hmm.
Yes, there is a data set which I just created. Okay. Now, if I don't do it, I just did that and I don't give any library name and I run it. So I would also find the same data set in the work library.
Work library.
Okay. All right. So now when
Okay.
I'm creating a SAS data set, I should also keep in mind that my data set name or like whenever I'm naming a data set, I should follow some naming convention rules. And those rules are
Okay.
uh, like my data set name cannot be more than 32 characters,
Okay.
and the rest of the two rules are same, which is like it cannot be more than it cannot contain
Start by
special characters.
start by number, cannot start by number or cannot contain any special character except underscore.
Correct. So two rules are same. Only the length can be up to
Hmm.
32 characters.
32 character.
Okay.
Okay.
So as a,
That is for data set.
yes, correct.
And the one that you talked about later, previously, it's about library,
Yeah,
lib name.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let me delete this one. All right. So now, as I'm creating a data, I will also need to create some variable. Let's say, for example, I'll give you a very small example over here. I created an Excel sheet where I write
Hmm.
some numbers. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Some numbers I've written. I don't write anything over here. Okay.
Okay.
Have you ever created some data in Excel?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't give any name to these columns. That means I cannot guess what kind of number these are, right?
Okay.
So this data is
Yes.
meaningless for me until unless I don't define a name over here in the columns, right? The similar way,
Exactly.
uh, a SAS data set works. I have to write a SAS data set name. Sorry, when I'm creating a SAS data set, I have to define some variable name so that I can understand what values those are, whatever is there in the data.
Yes.
Before that, if as I'm going to create some variable, I should understand what are the properties of variable. Okay, so let's do that.
Okay.
Uh, let's understand. So when I talk about variable, what thing comes in your mind first of all?
Column.
Oh, that's one thing. Let's say the most important thing which can be related with the variable. Uh,
Related with a variable that can be changed.
that can be changed.
Variable
Okay, so let me tell you.
name.
Variable that is like what kind of data I would be saving under this variable. Okay, So that means the kind of
Okay.
data type this variable should have, whether it should have numeric data, whether it should have character data. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that thing is called data type. In other language, we have multiple data types. However, in SAS, we have only two, which is numeric and character.
Character.
Okay.
Okay.
So one data type is numeric and other one is character. Let's talk about this first. The minimum size for numeric data, uh, like numeric data type variable is 3 bytes. In latest,
Three.
3 bytes.
3 bytes.
In latest version, it is 2 bytes. The maximum size for a numeric variable can be up to 8 bytes. Default is also 8 bytes, and numeric is a default data type. So that means if I'm creating variable and I don't assign any data type to that variable, it would become numeric.
Okay.
Okay. Missing values. Let's say if I have this column age in, let me open that. Uh, okay. Suppose I don't have age for Henry, right? And it's a
Mm.
numeric variable. So how this column would appear? Would it be like there would be a space or some other character? So if a value is missing for numeric variable, the value appears as dot. It is called a feature.
Dot.
Okay, so the missing value
Okay.
for numeric variable is represented with a dot. Alright, and at the
Okay.
end, 1, 2, 3 or any number, this 1, 2, 3 doesn't mean it is 3 bytes of data. For a numeric variable, one digit is not 1 byte. Okay, you
Okay.
it is little tough to get the size of this data, like of any numeric data, but because it depends on the numeric precision of the server. So we will not go in that much technicality. The only thing which you should remember is one digit is not 1 byte for numeric data. Okay.
Okay.
Alright. Let's go up to for character now. For character, the minimum size is 1 byte. Okay, before that, one more thing. Under numeric data type, I can only save numbers. Numbers
Yes.
like and decimal. This kind of data I can save under numeric. And in character, I can save anything, including numbers. Anything means
Okay.
anything can come under character. Okay.
Okay.
Maximum size for character variable is 32767 byte. Okay.
3, 2.
767. It's an examination question. Sometime it comes in the certification exam. They ask what is the maximum size of a character data set. Variable.
So that screen is not visible to me.
This screen is not visible to you. Okay. Is it visible now?
Like the column part, character part. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Alright. So the default size of a character variable is 8 bytes. Okay. It is not the default data type.
Okay.
The missing value for a character variable is represented with space, blank. Okay.
Okay.
And for character variable, if I say I am Ram, one space here, one space here, and if I have to guess what is the size of this, then it
1, 2, 3.
tell me the time.
1 I for 1, AM for 2, and RAM for 3.
Okay. So if it is a value of a particular variable, then the size would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8.
Okay.
Alright. Right. So one letter, one digit, or one character is 1 byte for a character variable.
Okay.
Alright. So now these are the like kind of data type of variable, properties of variable basically. I will also tell you some little basic thing and then we would start with some coding. In SAS,
Okay.
anything which is ending with a semicolon is called a statement. How many statements do you see in this program?
Semicolon 1, 2, 3. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, so there are 9 statements. Anything which is starting with the data and ending with run is called a step. Similarly,
Step.
yeah, similarly, anything which is starting with the proc, like proc print, and ending with run is called a step. Fine. However, this is called data step and this is called proc step.
Okay.
So how many steps do you see in this program?
So what is the difference between these?
I would tell you that. But before that, can you please tell me how many steps do you see in this program?
Steps 1, 2, 3, like 9, 10, 11.
11 steps. Okay, so let me repeat again what I said. I said anything which is starting with data and ending with run
Okay.
is one step.
Run. That is 1, 2, and 3. 3 data step and 1 proc step.
Correct. So there are 4 steps as of now. Fine. SAS is a
Hmm.
free format language. That means I don't have to follow any structure of writing the program. I can do like this. I can write program in any way. It will work because it processes statement by statement. Execute the program statement by statement. Okay. SAS is not a case sensitive language, which means it's not like that small letter data set would mean something else and I cannot write like this. I can. So that doesn't matter. So syntax
Okay.
is not case sensitive, however the values are case sensitive, which I will define later. Okay, so let's move on and try to do some coding over here. Okay, so what happens in our day-to-day work in any organization? Uh,
Mhm.
I have to follow a flow of work, and that flow is, first of all, I should know how can I access my data. Let's say whether I'm reading from a notepad file or I'm reading from a Excel file or I'm reading from a database, and where my data is and do I know how to get it from there? How do I read that data through SAS? So that thing comes under access.
Okay.
Let's say I have accessed my data. Now the data is not on in the desired format or I want to do something with my data. So I would be managing that data. Fine. But and most of the time
Okay.
if I need to manage my data I will be using my data step. Okay. Most of the time it is done through a data step. After that, let's say I have managed my data or what to say that I have prepared it for the analysis. I do analyze it after that. And finally, when I am done with my analysis, I create a report and send it to the end user. Right? So this is
Okay.
process we follow. Okay. Now,
Okay.
so as the first step is accessing the data, I would tell you how to do that. Right?
Okay.
Most of the time, we get data. We either get it from a database or we get it in the Excel, a notepad file because it consumes a very less space. A full format data it is, and there are less chances of that file corrupt. So let me create a sample data for you. Let me see if I have it. Not this one. Okay, let me create one data. Okay, so suppose I have this data, which is a very simple data, name, age, and salary I have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I want to read this external file, and I want to create a SAS data set. Okay, so let's start.
Okay.
First of all, as my task is to create a data set, I would definitely write a keyword called data.
Data.
Now, whatever name I want to give to my data set. So let's say I have given my data. But I have a question now. In which library this my data would go?
This will go not on work. Work में नहीं जाएगा ये.
It would go in work or it would not go in work?
It would not go in work.
Why?
वर्क में तो तब आएगा जब हम उस चीज को फॉलो नहीं करेंगे,
Okay,
रूल्स को.
so let me tell you again. Any data set name, whenever I'm writing, like, it should be data library.ds. That means I should define library and then data. However, if I don't
Right.
this two level name, if I only write dataset name ds, then this work is considered as the library of this data. So this data would go in work if I don't define.
Work. Yes.
So
Because
my
we didn't mention line and decimal dot.
yeah. So let me repeat what I said about this library. Why it is called default library? Because if there is such place where I am supposed to define a library name, let's say here, and I don't define it, that means at that time a default library work is considered the library of the data. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So now let's say I have written this my data, so it would go in work library.
Work library.
Right. Let me introduce one more new keyword called infile. What is that? Infile is basically used when I'm reading an external file from a location in my system. So I'm reading it from here. I'll copy this location and paste it here. Is that the complete path of my file? No, because inside raw data folder, there is a file which name I have to mention over here. So the name of the file is data2. I will write the file name data2.txt, the complete name of the file. As I'm creating the data, I have to create variables, so I will write a keyword input to create the variable. And in my file, I do see there are three values. So let me consider this as name, age, and salary. So I would write input name, age, and salary. And I just write that, which is the boundary of this data.
Okay.
Now, when I run this program, so that my data got created inside Word. Sorry. Okay, I do see it. When I open it, I don't get any value for name. I have value for age and salary. So what may be the reason why this name is not getting populated?
That might not be mentioned over there. नहीं, it is mentioned.
Okay, so let me tell you the reason. As I told you, numeric is the default data type of the variable. Okay, here I get
Yes.
a name, age, salary. I didn't mention anything, so all the variable became numeric. And numeric
Numeric.
you can only read numbers or decimals.
Numbers. So it is.
Right? For name, it got this one. A is a character. So it could not read it and it showed a dirty value kind of dot. For age and salary, it got numbers, that's why it showed it. Now, if I want to create this name as a character variable, I have to add a dollar following the variable name.
Okay.
When I do that and run it, let me run that. At that time, when I open it again, I see the name is populating properly. Okay, in the same way.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is one way I can read it. Fine. Other way of reading this is I can also write a file name, like I created lib name, a library reference for that location, for the reference of a directory. Similarly, if I need to create a reference for a file, I can do that by using file name keyword. Okay, so I would
Okay.
the complete path of the file over here, and I would assign a name. Let's say ABC again. So this ABC. Okay, so this my file is a kind of reference for this location, this file. So now here, instead of the complete path, I can write my file. The difference is when I write this and run it, let's keep the log and see what happens. Here, what SAS does, it first it resolve this my file. It is writing in the log that in file my file is this. Okay,
Okay.
and after that it reads from that. Okay, so I can do that, and there is one more method through which I can read my data, and that is basically for practice purpose. It is not widely used in the industry. That is called, I will not use in file, I will only use a statement called data lines, and I will paste everything under it. Okay, why it is like this option is given, basically where you can write your raw data inside the code, so that when I am sending you this code, you don't have to look for a file, or you don't have to like check or something like that. Fine. Okay.
Okay.
So now we would be following this method inside the class. However, anytime you can use this method. This and this would be same. Okay. So let's say if I give it
Okay.
name my data 1 and do it, it has created a data with same thing. Okay. Okay. Now there is a question. I am reading this data, coming to this data set, but how SAS is reading this data, I'm not sure as of now. I haven't told you this. Okay, this is very important. So let's try to understand. If I ask you a question that how are you able to differentiate these values, what would be the answer?
Differentiate the values
How do you
like by.
how do you differentiate name from age and age from salary?
I don't know.
Okay, so here uh, we do see there is a space between,
Yes.
right? Correct. So just because
Yes,
with the
sir.
help of this space, I am able to differentiate the values, right? If I remove this space from the like,
Can't differentiate it.
right, now I cannot understand, or I cannot be sure that what is name, what is age, and what is salary. Fine. So the same thing SAS also uses. And this thing, this space is called delimiter. Delimiter is something which delimits two values, decides the limits for two values. Okay.
Okay.
Now, when I run this, what SAS does, it reads the values one by one in sequence, whatever variable you have defined in the input statement. It would go to the raw data. First, it will look for a value for name. So it would start from here. By default, it starts from first line, first position, and it would read
Okay.
1, 2, and the moment it gets a delimiter, it would stop. Okay,
Okay.
and send this value to this variable. Again, it comes back. It starts from the position where it stopped last time. Again, it read 1, 2, and it gets a delimiter. It will stop. It will send this value to H. Come back and read this value. It reaches at the end of the record. So in 2
Okay.
seconds, it realized that the value is finished when it gets a delimiter or it read or reach to the end of the record. So here it gets an end of record. That's why it put this value in salary,
And salary.
right? In one go, it would read one line, and whenever it gets the value for all the variable defined in the input statement, after that it throws the output.
Okay.
It would read second one, then it would read third one, and throw the output one by one to the output data set. Output means this record to the data set. Okay, that's how it reads.
Okay.
This is basic number one. So I have run it and I've seen the statement. Now let's say I have multiple spaces between the values. Does it make any difference? What do you think? Will it make any difference or not?
Yes, it will.
How?
Sir, no, sir.
Okay. All right. So let me tell you this. So if I have multiple delimiter between my values and I'm using this method, which is the default method called line input, if I'm using
Mm-hmm.
this method to read my data, it does not make any difference if I have multiple delimiter between my values. Okay. So if I run this, what would happen? It would read this value as name. Okay, and again it would search for a value for age, but it would ignore all the delimiters which comes between first and the second value. Okay, so it would
Okay.
ignoring all the delimiters and read this as age, and it would keep on ignoring all the delimiters until it reach to a value. Okay,
Okay.
so it would read this as age and this as salary. So no matter I have how many spaces between the values, it would read my data correctly. So let me do this and run it. My data too has been created with the same values. Now let's move forward. Suppose let me move to the here first of all. Okay, now suppose I don't have this value. What do you think? What would happen?
Dot.
Dot. Okay. So let me try to run it and see what happens. When I run it and see my data 3, I only see two records, DB and 0. Dot. But the third record has not come.
Because of space, because it contains the numeric, characters also. So that means if any of the column is blank, that will be treated as a space, as you told me. If any of the missing data is there, then it will be, it have the space. ऐसा कुछ बताया था आपने.
Okay. So let's do it. Let's try to see what has happened. I will define the salary as character and run this data step again. So when I see it, I see it is reading CC as a value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the thing is, in the default nature, if SAS, like I'm using line input, if it doesn't get any value in the same record, the pointer moves to the next line to find the value. So what happened? It got value for BB, it got value for age, and after that, when it did not find the value for salary in the same record, by default it moved to the next line to read the value, and whatever it got, it took it as salary.
Okay.
It read CC as salary. So this is one rule. If in line input, this is line input we are doing. If it doesn't get any value for any variable in the same record, the pointer goes to the next line to find the value. The second rule is, I would also talk about the solution of this problem, but before that, let me tell you one more thing. Let's say I have defined like some other values as well. Some grades I have written over here. E and C. Now, when I run this, do you think this ABC would come in the dataset or not?
It will come.
Under which variable it would come? Like AA would come under name, 25 would come under age, 25,000 would come under salary. Under which variable this? Okay, so see. However,
Yes.
if I define any grade over here, any new variable for that value, let's say I've written grade
Mm-hmm.
and it's a character. Okay, so when I run this in my data, you can see one variable is coming as grade. Okay, so two rules are: first, if it after reading the last variable, pointer moves to the next line.
Next line.
Number one. Number two is, if it doesn't find any value in the same line, it moves to the next line to find the value.
Okay.
Alright. However, this is a problem. So when I ran this, I only got two records. One is this, one is this. So I want to ask why this CC 89,000 did not come in the output. Why only CC? Chalo, let me do one more thing. DD
Because
T 44,000. Okay. Now, how many observation would come in the output data set?
only two.
Only two. What would be that observation?
AA 25,000, BB 78, and CC.
And why not DD? Only CC?
Because on this previous that we did, उसमें भी नहीं आया था.
Yeah, that's correct. So let me tell you one thing. You're right. AA 25,000 would come as first observation. Now it would read BB as name. It would read 78 as age. What I told you, if it doesn't find the value for a particular variable in the same record, by its default nature, it moves to the next line to find the value.
Next line.
So it
Yes.
read salary as CC.
Exactly.
So the second observation.
But if we talk about the name that contain the dollar, we use dollar. That means we only name only contains the characters, not values.
That's one thing. Yeah, correct. So see, salary is read as CC. Okay. Now the second rule, which I told you, is after reading the last variable, wherever the pointer is, it moves to the next line.
Second line.
Yeah.
Alright.
Did I say that?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is why after reading the value for CC, pointer came here. Okay.
Okay.
Read DD 44,000 again as name, age, and salary. So when I ran this, I get to see BB78CC and DB40 polyphoton.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So this is how it works. But this is a problem. If this is how SAS is going to read my data, I would never be able to read it correctly.
Correctly.
That's where an option comes in picture called data lines. Sorry, miss over. In the data lines, we can mention it for the data lines basically. So the option name is miss over. It helps me. It will not let the pointer go to the next line if the value is missing in the same record. Where do we write it? We write it with the in file statement. Path, and here I can mention this option. However, if I'm using this data lines, I am not using the in file statement. Correct? So first of all, I have to write this in file statement. I will write in file. I don't have any path for my data. I'm reading data from data line, so I can mention it over here, data line. And now I can mention miss over. Okay.
Okay.
So what? Can you please tell me now how many observations would come in the output data set?
All of them.
All of them. Okay. So what would be the second observation?
BB78 and space
Space. Correct. And what would be third one?
CC 89,000.
Correct. So as after reading this 78, pointer will not find any value for salary. It will try to go to the next line, but misover option will not let it go to the next line. That's why it would treat it as missing, and then only it will move to the next record. So
Next record.
when I run it, I do see a missing value, but not CC as salary. Okay.
Okay.
Alright, so this is about misover option as of now. Let's do one more thing. Let's do one more example. Suppose I don't have age as well for BB. What do you think? What would be the second observation?
That would be same because we used in-file data line misover.
Yeah, so tell me the second observation.
Second observation would be BB and blank
Okay,
space
like missing values for age and salary.
salary.
Okay, so that is correct. What would happen after reading BB? It will try to find the value for age. It won't get it in the same record. It will try to go to the next one, but misover option will not let it go to the next line.
Let it go to the next line.
Yes, and that's why this would come as like. So let me do one thing. I will add a prop print over here. Okay, so that I don't have to open the data again and again. I can easily print it. So let's see. So both the values are coming as missing. Okay. All right.
I just have one question regarding the same. As you told earlier that if we miss any data in numeric numbers and decimal, that will be indicated as a dot,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And if we talk about the character, that will, if we miss any of the data, that will be treated as a space, like space आ जाएगा उसमें. तो अभी हमने जितनी भी सारी चीजें की हैं वो सब characters में आ रही हैं, right?
No, see, age is defined as numeric. That's why I do see a dot over here. Correct?
Okay.
There is a dot. However, salary is defined as character. See, I have added a dollar over here. That's why salary is character. And that's why I don't see any dot. There is a space. If I remove this and run it, I do see what? Let me see. Let me close that. Okay, let me run it again. See, there is a dot in both the values because now both the variables are numeric. Good question. Okay. Okay. So Okay. Now my question is, I don't have age. I only have salary. Now, can you please tell me what would be the second observation?
Yeah, BB space 85,000 space nahi dot आएगा इधर
Okay.
85,000 because we have used in file data line miss over.
Correct. Okay. So you're saying for second observation, BB would come as name.
Name
I think a dot would come as age,
dot
and 85,000
age
would come as salary,
salary.
which is completely wrong. Can you please try to give me
No,
the answer again?
sorry.
Can you please try to give me the answer again? Because I have told you the solution for this.
I don't know. In file data line miss over.
Okay.
That will not allow to read the third one. Huh, nahi.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. So BB is read as name.
Yeah.
Okay. After that, it will try to find age. We did an example where we put lot of delimiters and it ignored all the delimiters. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the same thing would happen over here. It would ignore all the delimiters
Oh, those.
and it would read
All right, and 85,000 considered as age.
age. Now, salary is not available on the same record. It will try to go to the next one. Missover will not let it go. So that's why salary is treated as missing. So when I run this and I created my data 6, I see that, see, 85,000 is coming as age and salary is coming as missing. So what it
Yes.
proves? It shows that VoiceOver can only help me if the value for uh, the last variable or last couple of variables are missed in sequence, are not there, not available basically.
Okay.
However, if the value is missing in the middle of the
In between.
in between basically, so VoiceOver option would not help me out.
Okay.
And what option would help me out? I would discuss that in tomorrow's class. Okay.
All right.
Till then, you just
Sir, I have one doubt regarding proc print data and data my data. What is the difference between these? Proc step and data step.
okay. So data step basically when I'm creating the data and I'm accessing my data or doing analyzing my data. Procs are basically predefined kind of statements which are designed to do certain tasks. There are a lot of procs. Like let's say in Excel we have a lot of functions to do certain tasks like concatenation to concatenate my data. VLOOKUP is designed to do something else. Similarly,
Okay.
in SAS, procs are designed to do some predefined tasks. Proc print, what does it do? It prints my data to the output. So whatever data I would pass over here, it would print it in.
Okay, it automatically reflects to output.
Yeah. So there are a lot of procs which I would
No.
discuss with you. Okay.
All right.
See you tomorrow in tomorrow's class, and I would in the next class I would discuss that how can we resolve this issue when the values are missing at the middle of it.
Missing.
Okay.
All right.